Hi, my name is Lakeisha King, and I'm with Easter Seals.
Hi, my name is Amy Drozda. I'm with Easter Seals.
And we are part of a statewide initiative for Hope for NC for COVID-19. We are here to talk to you a little bit today about stress and anxiety and how to cope with COVID-19. So as you know, we were all impacted with COVID-19 unexpectedly this year, and we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. So a lot of us may be experiencing some stress and anxiety while trying to continue on with our daily lives. So there's been a lot of uncertainty from day to day and fear of what might happen. You may feel loss of control. You might have some negative feelings. You may feel powerless because, we're in a situation that we cannot control once again. And you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. All of those symptoms are symptoms of anxiety, which is expected because we're dealing in a pandemic that we've never dealt with before. So you may experience some of those symptoms right now.
Some of those anxiety symptoms also may include racing thoughts, overthinking, obsessing about what's going on, what's happening, what may happen. You may experience a change in your outlook on life as far as loss of hope, or what's going to happen, how are my kids going to be raised, what's the society going to be like. My kids are not going to school, they're being homeschooled, what's their education like. You may have fear, worry, you may have difficulty sleeping, and sometimes whenever you're experiencing anxiety, you catastrophize the situation. So the worst case possible scenario of we're all going to die, or there is never going to be a normal society again, or things will never get back to how they used to be. So those catastrophic thinkings can actually cause additional anxiety.
And you also may be experiencing irritability, and you might see a change in your physical health, your mental health, and you might start to engage in more substance abuse habits to self-medicate to help decrease those symptoms of anxiety, such meaning like you might start to smoke more cigarettes. So you might have gone from smoking 2 or 3 cigarettes a day to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. You might be drinking alcohol a little bit more just to kind of wind down, to ease some of those symptoms that we just both discussed, because you don't know how to cope, you don't know what to do, so you're turning to those things that are easy and accessible to you to help calm you down.
So lots of things have been impacted with the coronavirus. There have been a lot of people affected by workplace closings, temporary shutdowns, permanent shutdowns, reduced work hours, changes in your financial situation, the ability to afford your typical living expenses, your housing expense. A lot of people have faced eviction.
Also, right now in this day and age, everybody's child has returned back to school. So there's childcare costs of trying to find someone to keep the baby, or even if you have an infant child or don't have one and they're in school, you're having to deal with the stress of homeschooling on top of trying to work, getting sick, trying to stay home, making sure that if you have a loved one that's in a assisted living care facility or in a nursing home, or even if they have to be admitted to the hospital, not being able to be there with them because of the COVID-19 restrictions and the limited access there of number of people that they're allowing you to go in, that can also be very stressful and overwhelming. Dealing with death during COVID has been completely different. How we say goodbye to our loved ones, families, and friends is not the same. So that can also be very upsetting. The reduced in social activities, people are not being able to travel outside of the country, or even fearful about traveling at all, because they don't want to put themselves or family members at risk of catching COVID. So they have limited your social activities that you're normally used to doing, such as going out to the park or going to the movies, going skating, doing those things that are enjoyable to you. Those activities have been limited.
As Lakeisha mentioned, a lot of schools have returned. However, there are some that are still giving you that choice of virtual versus live school presentation, which means you have a school-aged child that may be home alone while you're at work. How are they going to get on their virtual classes on time? Are they completing their assignments? Do they have the electronics, the internet, the capacity to do those things? And are they responsible enough? Are they old enough to be able to stay home alone if there are no childcare settings available? There's been people have had limited access to healthcare items such as alcohol, peroxide, sanitizing wipes, and even medications. Some prescription companies have not been able to distribute their medications, and they're not available for people despite their prescriptions because of that limited access of medications. Another thing that has caused a lot of anxiety for people is you go to the store, you see all those empty store shelves. You wonder if there's going to be enough toilet paper, Clorox wipes, cleaning supplies, bleach. Some of those things run empty, and you're fearful that they may not return. And then that causes just some panic symptoms where people begin to stock up and obsess and take everything, which leaves other people with nothing.
And not only that, in addition to what Amy was saying, we've all noticed that the cost of foods and goods have gone up. So even though the cost, because of the demand and companies being closed or having to close down to maybe a potential COVID outbreak in the facility, people are not able to go out there, and companies have not been able to mass produce items that we're used to. So we might see, if you go to the grocery store, you might see that you can't get some Hot Pockets, or you can't get some of those fast foods that we're used to getting. And then that also can create additional stress and anxiety. So what do? We also have to look at the stress and anxiety in the children. Since COVID-19 has started, some of the physicians have also stated that children have gained weight. Why? Because they're also dealing with COVID in addition to adults. So what that looks like in them, they having to deal with some stress and anxiety from having to be separate from their caregivers, or not being able to be around the caregivers that they're used to taking care of them, not being able to go to school. I know that for me, for example, my daughter was very upset when school ended abruptly, and she wasn't able to say goodbye. They weren't able to engage in some of the things that they're used to, such as trick-or-treating is coming up, some of those social activities. It has been very stressful because the kids don't understand what is happening. And so what they're doing is they're eating more, they're possibly might be crying, might be bedwetting a little bit more because that's a sign of stress. They might be complaining that they may have some stomach aches and pains. They might have more physical symptoms, but primarily what we're seeing is that the children are gaining more weight because they're eating more. And a lot of people
more sedentary as well. They're sitting on their computers all day. They may be playing more video games, doing virtual classes online.
And even if they're engaging in virtual learning, they're not really engaged because it's out of their normal routine of learning. So they have checked out. They don't want to do it. Their grades may be suffering right now because of COVID, but thankfully, the school systems realize that this is all new and everybody is in a learning curve. So we're all working together to, reduce some of the stress for both parents, teachers, and students.
And as far as caregivers and how they can respond to the kids, it's best if the caregiver can respond in a calm manner, be confident, be reassuring. It's helpful if the caregiver allows them to talk about their thoughts, their feelings, their concerns. What are they worried about? How are they experiencing it? Because obviously every child's going to experience it different. And there's the different ages, developmental levels of how those kids may interpret the information. So being prepared, letting them know you're prepared, let them know what that plan is and contribute to that plan for if these different scenarios happen, how are we going to respond to this as a family?
And I think more importantly, we all have to remember that our kids can pick up on our stress and anxiety, whether we realize it or not. So as long as we are reassuring to our children, then that we can help reduce their own anxiety. And how do we do that? By hugging them, kissing them, reading to them, spending time with them, just being comforting. And as Amy says, talking to them in a soft tone, and trying your best to not allowing the children to see you panic, because when you panic, they panic. So just trying to maintain your composure will definitely help reduce your child's stress.
So whenever you're thinking about how do I manage all of this stress, anxiety, all these new worries in this whole face of an unknown, uncertain pandemic. So one of the best things that is advised as far as the CDC, the WHO organization, the public health authorities is to stay informed, but not just stay informed, but stay informed with trustworthy sources. So verify the information, avoid passing on rumors. Double check those actual government authority sites and the health sites, so you have accurate information, and you're not just anticipating what your beliefs are and ruminating on those.
And more importantly, focus on what you control. This pandemic is something that is beyond anyone's control, but the you can reduce your stress and anxiety by focusing on the things that you can control, such as you can start to problem solve with different scenarios on how you're going to address certain situations. That's all in being prepared. So if you were to get sick, who would keep your kids? If you needed to go to the hospital, who will go with you? Are you prepared to go by yourself? Right now we are about 7 or 8 months into this pandemic, so a lot of us have gotten very comfortable and have learned how to respond. We kind of know what we're going to do, rather than what it was in the beginning. Now that we're learning to live with COVID. So when you're learning to live with it, you know what you can do, you know what you can't do, so you can reduce your stress and anxiety by being prepared. Um, Staying connected, staying connected with, not just with social media, but with the news. And then two, not over worrying about some of the information that you hear. A lot of the things that we see on social media and on this, just in the media period, can be very negative. But you have to just be able to pick and know what it is that you're looking for. So if you want an update regarding COVID-19, or you want to know a change in a situation regarding the government or anything like that, pay attention to that. Try to limit the amount of time that you spend on social media, because if you're excessive and you start to obsess about it, then you going to go back to increasing your stress and increasing your anxiety. And then two, if you're paying too much attention to social media, then you're not checked into your family and friends and loved ones, and that's where you're going to get some of your relief. So just try to reach out for support, contact your healthcare provider, use crisis lines that's available if you need someone to talk to, because reach out to your pastors if you're involved in church settings. Try to maintain as much normalcy as you possibly can. So a lot of times you still have access to things, but it's just different. So a lot of churches are doing Bible study in churches via Zoom, or even in the car parking lot. So you want to stay connected to normalize your life as much as possible.
Other ways to manage it is just to follow the advised safety precautions. Wear your mask when you're out in public, wash your hands, have disinfectant readily available, slow the spread of the virus, stay home if you're able to, use the 6 foot of social distancing, and ultimately just reduce that risk of exposure to yourself, to your family. And while all of this is going on, practice good coping skills. So like Lakeisha said, stay connected, use social media to your advantage, but in limited proportions. Do some video chatting with your family and friends, so you still have that face-to-face connection in addition to phone calls. Try to engage in as many activities and interests as you can. What are your hobbies? Maybe something you haven't had time to do a project, photo books, memory books, learn something new. And for all people, it's good to maintain a routine. It's easy to get into bad habits of staying up late, sleeping throughout the day. Not having that routine can be a problem, and it can cause additional stress, not only for you, but for the children, just because it's better to be able to manage that anxiety if you know what to expect. So a routine helps with that structure. Use some relaxation, mindfulness, deep breathing, self-soothing, and ultimately take care of yourself.
And by taking care of yourself, continue to do those things that you enjoy and love. A lot of people like to exercise. So right now, so those of you that love to go to the gym, some gyms are open, but if not, then you can exercise at home. There are a lot of exercise videos on YouTube. There are a lot that you can buy out of the store. Many people take advantage of what's right there. So if you have exercise equipment at home, or if you're able to go walking in your neighborhood, walking and running is very therapeutic. It helps you to relax, and it also reduces a lot of those negative toxins that you're feeling in your body. Eat healthy. Eat healthy as you possibly can. But then too, also with eating, if you're not able to travel, going back to some of the things that you can do and try, you might want to look at trying an international food night. Um, that will having like a cooking party or something like that with your family and friends where you try a different dish from some place that you wanted to go. It can be very fun, relaxing. You're doing a whole bunch of things in one. You're spending time with your loved ones. You're trying something new, and it's going to help you relax. Listen to music. Music is very therapeutic. It's also very relaxing, and a lot of people love me. I know me. Music helps me. Depending on what kind of mood I am, you want to just make sure that you're staying connected. Laughing is very, it burns calories. It does. Laughing burns calories, but the more you laugh, you're going to reduce your anxiety. So you want to do those things that are enjoyable to you. Find you a great comedy show, good comedy movie, or something. Play a good game where you can laugh and then spend time with your family. Take a bath. That's very relaxing. Spend time with your pets if you have some. They are very soothing, and it's also very therapeutic because you're connecting and you're relaxing and building that relationship.
Another thing that's very helpful, and as far as staying connected, not only to family, friends, all the social activities you are able to do virtually, but get out into nature, feel connected with the world around you, be able to be outside, mask free if there's nobody around, enjoy the nature, your surroundings. And again, you can use some of those mindfulness breathing techniques while you're out there, paying attention to where you are now, how you're feeling now, getting that exercise and being in nature. Help others. That can take your mind off of yourself and your own worries and give you a purpose, a meaning to life, and you can be a calm influence to the other people in the community. And otherwise, just distract yourself. So one of the best skills you can do is just distract yourself and allow your mind to have a rest or a break from the stress and anxiety that you're experiencing. Some people have a difficult time to distract themselves from that worry, and you could use a worry stone. You could have something physical in your hand that you can rub or touch. Some people do the rubber band snapping. Other people just practice on recognizing what they're thinking and changing that thinking. So if I was to worry and stress and be anxious and have all these obsessive thoughts going on in my head about what's going to happen with COVID, I can recognize that and say, I'm not going to let myself do that right now. And I'm going to pick a topic outside of COVID that I can focus on, something that I enjoy, something that'll help me relax. Just any non-COVID type of topic.
And there's one more thing that I thought about that we left out. A lot of people love to read. Get involved in a great novel, any type of drama book. You can get caught up in a different world by reading books. So this is the perfect time for you to engage in those type of activities to help you check out of this pandemic and check into some type of new normalcy. And that's what we're here to do. So thank you for taking the time out to listen to us. Hopefully this information that we share to you is beneficial. If you have any other questions, needs, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to your local health department, social services, any resources in the community that can help get you connected to services if you need it. Please remember to just take time to relax, relate, and relieve. Maintain a routine. Try not to worry. Focus on those things that you can control. And just know that we're in this together.
And only other thing to add is there are lots of different websites. East Point, your local MCO may have Well, they do have a COVID page and different topics and ideas for how to manage the COVID pandemic, as well as sites in general that may have information for what are some great ways to cope, relax, how can you manage your anxiety. If you were to experience suicide, there's different suicide hotline numbers, and just getting connected with other people through that social media platform.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you.